In the long school holidays of 1963, Wei Han was sent to stay with his grandfather on Pulau Senang, a knuckle of rock and scrub that rose out of the sea south of Singapore. His grandfather was the keeper of the lighthouse there, a tall white tower that had stood guard over the shipping lane for more years than anyone could remember. Wei Han had imagined long, lazy days of swimming and fishing. Instead, on his very first morning, his grandfather pressed a soft cloth and a tin of polish into his hands.
The lamp first, then breakfast.
Wei Han stared up at the great glass lens, baffled. It already gleamed.
Why polish what is already clean?
His grandfather only smiled, the lines around his eyes deepening like the grain of weathered wood.
Because the sea never takes a holiday.
The days settled into a strict, unchanging rhythm. Each dawn, Wei Han wound the heavy clockwork that turned the lamp, trimmed the wick, and wiped the soot from the glass until his arms ached. Each dusk, he climbed the spiral stairs to light the great lamp before the sun had fully sunk. At first, he found it tedious beyond words. The same chores, the same tower, the same endless horizon. His grandfather, however, performed every task with a quiet, unhurried care, as though each smear of polish mattered as much as the last. One evening, as the lamp's beam swept slowly across the darkening water, the old man explained,
A keeper does not work for praise. No captain out there will ever know my name. They will only know that the light was burning when they needed it. That is enough. That has always been enough.
Wei Han said nothing, but the words lodged somewhere deep inside him. As the weeks passed, Wei Han began, almost against his will, to take a strange pride in the work. He learned to read the moods of the sea, the silvered calm before a still night, the restless chop that warned of weather. He learned the names of the passing vessels, the bulk carriers, the rust-streaked tramp steamers, the slender fishing boats that put out from the kampong before dawn. His grandfather taught him to keep a logbook, recording every ship that passed and every change in the weather in a careful, slanting hand.
The log remembers what we forget.
One blustery afternoon, leafing back through the yellowed pages, Wei Han found an entry from many years before. It was brief: a fierce squall, a fishing boat in trouble, a light that had guided it home through the dark. Beside it, his grandfather had written 4 small words. We nearly lost them. Late one humid afternoon, Wei Han noticed his grandfather frowning up at the lamp. The old man tapped the brass fuel reservoir, listened, and tapped again.
The flame has been burning low these past few nights. The wick draws unevenly. I do not like it.
He fetched his tools and worked at the mechanism for over an hour, his weathered fingers moving with practiced patience, but the trouble would not quite come right. At last he straightened, rubbing the small of his back.
A part is wearing out. The replacement is in the town. I will signal for the supply boat in the morning.
Wei Han looked at the lamp uneasily. It seemed to him to be burning exactly as it always had, bright and steady and sure. Yet he had learned by now not to doubt the things his grandfather noticed. That evening, the supply boat never came, for the weather turned before the morning signal could be sent. The sky to the southwest bruised over with cloud, and a wind sprang up that flung spray clear over the rocks. By nightfall, a full monsoon storm had closed in around the island, sealing it off as surely as a locked door. Rain hammered the tower windows. The sea, black and heaving, threw itself against the cliffs below with a roar Wei Han felt in his teeth. His grandfather lit the lamp at dusk as always, but Wei Han saw the worry he tried to hide. With the flame already weak and no replacement part, the great light could not shine at its full, far-reaching strength. On a night like this, when ships most needed it, the lighthouse was quietly, dangerously dimmer than it ought to be. Wei Han could not sleep. He sat at the foot of the tower stairs, listening to the storm fling itself against the stone, while his grandfather tended the struggling flame above. Somewhere out in that howling darkness, he knew, boats might be fighting for their lives, straining to catch the one light that told them where the rocks ended and the safe channel began. The thought frightened him more than the storm itself. He thought of the fishermen from the kampong, men he had watched setting out cheerfully each morning, and of the old logbook entry. We nearly lost them. For the first time, the polishing and the trimming and the winding did not seem tedious at all. He understood with a cold clarity that every dull repeated chore had been a promise that the light would be there when it was needed. Tonight, that promise was wearing thin. It was near midnight when Wei Han climbed up to keep his grandfather company in the lantern room. The old man stood at the rain-streaked glass, watching the beam labor out into the murk. Wei Han pressed his face to the cold window beside him and stared into the chaos of wind and water. The beam swept round, illuminating the seething sea for a brief instant before moving on, then darkness, then round again. He had watched it 100 times. This time, though, in one of those fleeting flashes, far out towards the reef on the eastern side, he caught a glimpse of something that did not belong. A small dark shape, low in the water, pitching helplessly among the waves. Then the beam swept past and it was gone, swallowed by the night. Wei Han blinked, unsure whether his tired eyes had invented it. He almost said nothing. The easiest thing in the world would have been to dismiss it as a trick of the storm and his weariness. Yet his grandfather's own words came back to him. A keeper notices, and a keeper does not ignore what he notices. Wei Han waited, heart thudding, for the beam to come round once more, and forced himself to stare at the same patch of furious water. The light swept past. For a sickening moment, there was nothing. Then, there. The dark shape again, closer to the reef now, tilting at a dreadful angle.
Grandfather, out there, by the eastern reef. I think it is a boat, and I think it is in trouble.
His grandfather went very still, then snatched up the battered brass telescope from its hook. His grandfather pressed the telescope to his eye, bracing himself against the trembling window frame. The seconds stretched out unbearably. Then he drew a sharp breath.
A fishing boat, driven off course by the storm. Her engine has failed, or her rudder. She is being carried straight onto the reef.
He lowered the glass and looked at his grandson with something Wei Han had never seen in his face before. A flash of fear, swiftly mastered. The reef, Wei Han knew, was a maze of hidden teeth that had torn the hull out of many a vessel. In this sea, a boat broken upon those rocks would not last the night.
Had you not spoken, I would not have looked that way. The light alone could not have saved them. They are too far inside the reef.
There was no time to lose and no help to be summoned. The telephone line to the mainland had gone dead with the storm. His grandfather moved with a speed that astonished Wei Han, the years seeming to fall away from him.
The fishermen will not see a steady light in this, but they may see a changing one. A signal cuts through where a steady beam is lost.
He began to work the heavy shutter, opening and closing it across the weakened beam in a deliberate rhythm. Long, short, long, flinging the dimmed light out towards the reef in urgent pulses.
Count with me.
Wei Han took the second handle, and together they labored, throwing the broken light into the storm again and again. A desperate question hurled into the dark. Do you see us? Do you see us? Are you still there? Minutes crawled by like hours. Wei Han's arms burned and his palms blistered against the cold metal handle, yet he did not dare stop. Long, short, long, long, short, long. The storm shrieked, as though it meant to tear the very signal from the air. He kept his eyes fixed on the spot where the boat had been, half dreading that the next sweep of light would show only empty, churning water. Then his grandfather gave a hoarse shout. Out by the reef, faint and small but unmistakable, a pinprick of answering light had flickered into life. A lantern, raised and lowered, on the deck of the stricken boat.
They have seen us. They are answering.
A wild, fierce joy surged through Wei Han, warmer than any praise he had ever been given. Across all that raging water, two lights had found each other in the dark. Now began the truly delicate work. His grandfather knew the reef as he knew his own hands, every hidden tooth and narrow gap in it. Using the shutter, he guided the fishermen with slow, patient signals. A long flash to steer them away from a submerged rock here, a pause to let them turn there, a steady glow to mark the one twisting channel that threaded through the reef to safe water. Wei Han worked the second shutter exactly as he was told, asking no questions, trusting completely. It was agonizingly slow. Twice the answering lantern lurched sickeningly as the boat scraped some unseen hazard, and Wei Han's heart leapt into his throat. Yet each time the little light steadied and crept onward, following the patient instructions flung to it through the storm. Inch by hard-won inch, the boat felt its way out of the maze of rocks towards the open, deeper water beyond. was almost dawn when the answering lantern at last drew clear of the reef and slid into the calmer water of the deep channel. The fishermen, exhausted but safe, were able to drop anchor in the lee of the island and wait out the last of the storm. As the first gray light crept over the horizon, the wind began grudgingly to ease. Wei Han slumped against the lantern room wall, his blistered hands trembling, too drained even to speak. His grandfather lowered himself stiffly beside him. For a long while, neither said a word. There was no need. They simply watched the sky lighten over the worn-out sea, and the small dark boat riding safe at anchor below, where only hours before there had been nothing but rocks and ruin waiting in the dark. The great lamp, its work done, flickered bravely on above their heads until the rising sun made it, at last, unnecessary. When the supply boat finally arrived 2 days later, word of the night's rescue had somehow already reached the town. A small crowd of fishermen came out to the island. Among them, the very men Wei Han and his grandfather had guided through the reef. They were weathered, soft-spoken people, not given to grand speeches. Their captain, a broad man with gray in his beard, took the old keeper's hand in both of his and held it for a long moment.
We saw the light change. We knew then that someone was watching, that someone knew we were there.
He turned and looked at Wei Han, and something passed between them that needed no words. Then the fishermen pressed gifts upon them: fresh fish, fruit, a woven mat, and rode quietly back to their lives. No newspaper ever carried the story. No medal was ever struck. None of them expected one. On Wei Han's last evening on the island, he climbed the spiral stairs one final time and lit the great lamp himself, while his grandfather watched from the doorway. The replacement part had come with the supply boat, and the flame now burned tall and clean and strong, throwing its beam far out across a sea that lay calm and innocent, as though it had never roared at all. Wei Han polished the glass until it shone, and this time he did not grumble, nor did he ask why he should clean what already gleamed. He understood now. Somewhere out there, beyond the soft horizon, boats he would never see were trusting this light without ever once thinking of it, and that quiet, unthanked trust he had learned was a thing worth guarding with the whole of one's careful heart.
The sea never takes a holiday.
His grandfather behind him smiled. Many years afterwards, when the old lighthouse had long been made automatic and its last human keeper had retired, Wei Han would tell his own children about that storm-torn night on Pulau Senang. He never told it as a tale of his own bravery. He told it instead as the night he finally understood his grandfather. The most important work in the world, he came to believe, is rarely the work that anyone sees. It is the patient, unglamorous tending of a light that others never think about. Until the night, it is the only thing standing between them and the rocks. To notice what others overlook, to keep faith with a duty no one is watching, to do small things carefully again and again. These, he had learned on that island, are how ordinary people quietly hold the safety of others in their steady, unthanked hands.